Quick announcement at the end of the video. Make sure to watch till the end. Alright guys, welcome back to another MCreator tutorial. So today I just wanted to cover a plugin specifically for Blockstates. I don't really cover plugins that often because I don't use many of them, and I don't really think that it's the best way to actually develop mods, but that's my own personal bias. The reason why I'm doing it now is for this particular one is because I do use it, and it's something that a lot of people need for a tutorial regarding the my communities and stuff like that for creating specific things. Now we'll be covering basically first what a block state is, and then we'll be going into how to use the plugin, where to get the plugin, and all the other stuff. So let's get started. All right, so what is a block state? So a block state can change the model, light level of the item, as well as you can change the particle effects, and there's a few other things that it can do. Mainly what it does is changes either the model or texture of a specific block. Now the nice thing about block states is it allows you to use a block for multiple models without needing to actually change the make multiple blocks. So basically, like if you were to have an anvil, for example, there's 3 block states for these. If we actually open these up, you can see some of the block states that are in here. We got the east, and I think maybe this one doesn't actually have, or maybe it doesn't actually have the block states. This one should. Waterlogged. Yeah, the waterlog and hanging is the block state. So the hanging one for the which is true is an actual block state. Anvils don't actually use it, but it could use the same principle if you wanted to use block states for those. The other one is basically has hanging false. Also, you might notice that the waterlogged is also a block state. So when you waterlog a specific block, that's actually a block state as well. So anvils don't actually have that. They have facing, which is a block state. So basically when you have the rotation of this block, this is actually its own block state as well, only we already have a different way of basically detecting the direction. And I'm assuming, yeah, candles also have a block state. It's called candles, lit, and waterlogged. So these are, there's one for candles, which indicate how many candles there are. And then there's the lit one. So basically, if we light one of these with flint and steel, that block state will update. So we just need flint and steel. I'm not sure where that is. So yeah, so as you can see, it changed to true when we lit the candle there. So it's true now. So those are basically the general things. It's basically like a variable in the sense, but it has ability to change the model and the texture as well. So, and again, just because anvils don't use the texture for the top for a block state, it could use that as a actual design. So you could, in theory, make this a block state if you wanted to. I'm not sure why Mojang didn't do that, but could just be because it was before they started messing around with block states or something. All right, so let's go into on the MCreator site, and I'll show you the plugin page, and then we'll take it from there. All right, so to get the plugin, what we need to do is go onto the community tab, and then we're going to go to the MCreator plugins, and then we're going to scroll down until we see the block state one. You might have to search by the creator or just search block states. This is by Nerdy Puzzle, so you want to click on that, and then basically this basically indicates that you need the plugin Java plugins enabled. So when you're working with this, make sure to enable that. We'll cover that in just a second. And change logs over here, as well as some versions that you can download for different MCreator versions as well. So we have everything from 2023.4 to 24.4 currently. I'm not sure if he has a older downloads or anything like that. I'm not too familiar, but you might have only those particular ones for support. Alright, so once you've downloaded the plugin, it'll give you a zip file which you can put in your plugins folder. To do that, what we can do is we can open up MCreator, and we're going to need to make sure that a couple things are enabled. We're going to open the launcher here, and then what we want to do is go to Preferences, which is this little button right over here, and then we want to go to the where is it? The Manage Plugins, and you want to enable Java plugins, this little checkbox right here. By default, it's unchecked. You want to make sure that it's checked, and then you want to go ahead and load plugin, and then you want to basically select your Java or the zip file that you basically downloaded, and then it should put it in a folder. If you go explore Java plugins, oh, not that one, the open plugins folder, you'll be able to see where your plugins are located. I have a script that I can actually use for Windows that will replace the plugins folder. It's a little bit easier to manage. I won't go into too much detail of how that all works, but basically when I have versions, I have where the MCreator is installed, and then what I've done is just gone ahead and gone to the, nope, not that one, where is it? Versions, data pack, Discord, mods, beyond versions, plugins, yeah. So basically what I've done is I've just used the batch file to replace the folder, clear it out, and replace it. So that's basically the code that I have for batch file. It's pretty advanced. I'm not sure what all it does. I just asked ChatGPT to replace it, clear out the folder, and then replace it with something in the folder that I have here. So in this case, the 20.5 doesn't have any plugins, so when I click this, it will replace it with just an empty folder. If I were to do something like the latest version, 2024.4, I have the Blockstate plugin, so that will be added to the thing. I also keep file manager and other things that I'm not using in this main folder, and then I can just run it from there with that particular version. But just like a side note, it's not anything that's too fancy. If you want the script, I can provide that on GitHub or something like that if you want something to do that exact same mechanics. But let me know in the description, or better yet, hop onto Discord and let me know, and on my Discord server, and let me know that you want it. And if you create a request or something like that in the general chat or MCreator general or something like that, I'll be able to give the code that ChatGPT gave me. It's worked for a long time. So anyhow, let's go ahead and actually cover the plugin now. So we'll go back to our plugin. So the first thing that we need is to create a block element, and we're just going to need one block because we're going to be using blockstates to change the model or texture. So what we can do is we can go ahead and we can set the state or the name. We're just going to call it test, lowercase test. And then what we can do is we can set the texture. Now, if you have a custom model, you can actually set your custom model here as well. By default, there's just these textures here, but we can go ahead and change the model, or even the just the texture if we wanted to, or both if we wanted to. Another thing that we can do is, I should probably note, is this is going to be your block state 0 with this plugin. So your block itself is always going to be in the 0 state when you actually add it. So keep that in mind. You can add a script to actually replace it if you want a different block state, but just keep in mind that it's going to be your block itself is your 0 state when you're actually working with this. You can set up your hitbox for the block as well. That's going to be customizable. And I think it might work with custom block states. At least we have the variable part of things right now. We don't actually have the ability vanilla wise to add block states vanilla like base MCreator, but I'll explain a little bit more later on towards the end of the video. So I'm just going to make sure that it's under the functional blocks so I can actually get it in the creative inventory. And I'm just going to leave all the other settings basically the same. We'll come back to the right click in just a little bit. Okay, so the next thing that we need is create a block state element. So there is the new element when you install the plugin called Blockstates, and you're gonna create this. I usually just call it like test block state, or the type of block that I'm making the block state for, and then block state after it, just so it's consistent for what I'm working on and across my mods as well. So when you actually set this up, you'll have kind of a blank page like this. This is normal. You're going to want to select your block here. And then what you want to do is you want to go and click Add Block State. So when you do this, you want to set your model initially. So if you have your model first, like a custom model, then select your model here. And then you want to give it a particle texture. And if you want to give it a light level, like a different light level, like candles or whatever, then you can set that value here. You also want to give it a hitbox. Now, when you have a custom model, there should be an option for basically auto calculating, very similar to when we have the bounding box here. We can actually go ahead and there would be an option to automatically generate based on the custom model. So we can do that in here as well. And the other thing that we want to do is we're just going to set a texture for this, and I'm going to set the block state to have the top texture up here. The main block that we have is currently going to have the forward facing one. We're going to save that, and we're going to have a top facing one at the top here. So we're going to basically change the state between 1 and 0 to switch between the red texture from top to bottom. It's just something to demonstrate. You can do a lot more with this rather than just change the texture. Like I said, you can change the model. You could do something like a blender, and then you could have a pot in it, and then the maybe a few other states that you cycle through to do an animation. That could be possible through an update tick to kind of give a blending motion for the blender as well. So it's very dynamic of what you can do, and you can also give a light level for things like candles or lanterns or other things. You can even do a right-click vent to change the brightness of the candle or whatever, or extinguish it. It's really, the possibilities are a lot endless when you have this kind of system. So those are just some ideas, and it's not the only things that you can do with it. Again, very basic stuff. You could just change the texture at the end of the day. So, all right, so I'm not going to worry about anything else. The only thing that we do need to worry about is right at the top here where it says the block textures, and then there is a word above it called block state 1. So that number 1 is going to be the ID of what block that you're going to be working with. So in this case, we have 1, and our block itself is going to be 0. So we're going to just save that. Okay, so what we want to do for running the script is we want to go ahead and create a right-click event, just so it's pretty easy to demonstrate. And we're going to use the modded ones first, and then I'm going to demonstrate how you can do this with the vanilla blocks as well. But we're going to just stick with the Blockstates folder here for the moment. So we have under the Blockstate one, we have a few blocks here. We have the set current block state of block, and then X, Y, and Z, and then we have the value of the block state that we want. And then we have get the current block state of the blocks, provide a block state. So this is basically will allow us to get the number of the block state. And this one allows us to set it, and this one allows us to basically set a block state for a block selector. So in some cases, if you're, say, using the replace block here, we could get rid of that block selector, and then we could go under block state, and we could set our custom block state like this, and say we want to, when we replace the block or something like that, we could select our block itself and then set the state to 1. So we can do that as well. There's a few other things that I should cover when it comes to features as well. It is possible to do it through the vanilla feature thing. Now, the plugin itself only has these procedure blocks, but we can make use of the vanilla system to utilize the block states. So I'll cover that in a little bit after I cover how to design the procedure. So, all right, so for very basic system, we're going to need an if statement to test what state it's in. We're also going to need to test if there is an else, if that state is not true. We only have two states, so we can do is true or not true basically through a number variable. And we're going to get the block state of the plugin. So we're going to go ahead and grab that, and we're going to test if it is 0. And if it is 0, then what we want to do is we want to set the block state to 1. And if it's not 1 or 0, then what we want to do is we want to set it to 0. So that's basically the gist of what we're going to be doing for this particular tutorial. You can mix and match and mix it in with your script and everything like that for what you want for the entire thing. It's just very short example to kind of demonstrate how the block states work. So let's go ahead and save this, and we'll save our element now that we have that right click event. So it's under the functional tabs, and if we go down here, we'll have our block here. As you can see, the default texture is going to be on the front face. So that's what the icon is. So if we place it down, our front face is over here. And I didn't set up rotation so it doesn't rotate with us or anything like that. If we were to enable rotation, then it would be facing us when we place it. So if we right click on it, it changes the texture to the top and sets the one down here to the dark texture. So it's basically just changing the texture when we right click on it. Now, to see what kind of block state variable it has, we can go into F3 screen, and then we can look at the right side of the player where it says target block, and then it says test, and then test. So that's the block registry and namespace. And then we have the variable or block state underneath that called blockstate 0, and we right click on it and it'll change it to 1. And then we right click on it again, it changes it back to 0. So we can actually use that name for the block state to in vanilla blocks that are already in MCreator to do the exact same effect. So let's go ahead back into MCreator and I'll show you how to do that part. Okay, so opening up our procedure itself, if we go under to the block procedures and then data, we have the integer property here, which should have the word age in it. And if we set this to block state, then we'll be able to actually replace this one right here with the block state variable. Now we can't actually change the name of this because the plugin doesn't support different names for the block states. We'll probably get support for that in the future, given that MCreator is working on getting that all set up. But it's broken up into different parts and for the PRs and stuff or pull requests. So we'll be getting different parts of the block states as they progress with the development of it. It's taking a little while because there's a lot of stuff to actually consider and stuff, so I'll get into that a little bit later. All right, so the other thing that we can do is we can go down here and we can do that other one like I described with the other one for that block. So if we look at the block state, we have this one right here. We can do the exact same thing if we wanted to with that. So we would just make sure that the name is block state, and then we can set it to 1 and set our block state, and then that would work as well. The other thing that we can do is we can set the block state value of that particular one. So it would be this property here, and we would basically go ahead and set this to 0, or we would set this to 1. So let's go ahead and give this a try. All right, so I'm going to break the block and place it down just to make sure that everything is set up when we actually click on the block. So we're going to look at the block here. It says block state 0 still. We right click on it. It also says 1, right click back, and it changes the texture. So it's the exact same thing as what we were doing with the Blockstate plugin blocks. It's just using the vanilla ones now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a feature. So we'll go ahead and create a feature here. We'll call it test feature. I know, very original, right? Doesn't need to be for tutorials. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just quickly make a basic system for generating the block state. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get a block pile here, and we're going to set a property, and basically what this property does is oh, maybe it's not that one. Let me just double check to see what we got here for things. I think the one that we want here is this one. So we would want the block state, and then we would want to set an integer, constant integer, to either 0 or 1. So what we can do here is we can go ahead and create a random block state for basically replacing some of these features. So for example, if we go ahead and randomize that. I'm not sure if I can actually randomize this particular one. We might be able to do that. Yeah, we can't put that on here like that, but we could randomize the feature itself. So for example, I need to find where it is. There should be under the advanced tab, randomized feature. And we could do one with the block state 1 and then block state 2, or block state 0 and block state 1. We'll set our variable here. And then what we can do with that is we can go ahead and generate that on the surface. So we'll go ahead and create a repeater for making it repeat at least 2 times per chunk, and we'll go ahead and only make sure that it's in the same biome. We're not going to set the biome, so that's fine. And then I want to make sure the height is on the height map. We're going to put that down here, and we're going to offset the X and YZ location for the thing right before there. So basically what this will do is it will allow us to repeat it 2 times, so it has 2 chances of generating. It'll randomize the X and Z in the chunk. It'll put it onto the surface of the world, and then it will go ahead and basically make sure that it's in the biome that it needs to be in. So what we should see is one kind of pile with the type of block with the top, and one with the face on the front of the block. So we can go ahead and save this. Okay, so I'm generating a new world, and as we can see here, we have some blocks facing this way. If we go over here, we can see that these blocks are actually facing upwards, and there's other ones. Now, you could probably get away with setting different randomized versions based on certain conditions and stuff. I think there's other ways of going about doing this, but this is just an example to kind of show the different block rotations that can work with features if you were to use this kind of system, so with a plugin itself. And when we get more support for officially, we'll probably have more support for variables and things like logic and the what do you call it, the strings. We'll have hopefully support for those, and I'm not sure if this is going to actually happen, but assuming that they're going to be adding support for all 3 of them. We did get the update for when we look into the block, we did get the block states thing, so we can actually use a logic, integer, and enum, which is basically strings. So we should be able to hopefully get events features for all 3 of these when it comes to the features, and we'll be able to use them hopefully with the actual vanilla block states, which we have down in this section here. So we have the water log, which is the Boolean or true or false. We also have the enum, which is these ones here. Now we can actually test for these right now. We just can't set the block state or texture or any lighting effects based on these variables. So that will hopefully come in the future. Again, there's a lot of things that need to be considered when adding something advanced like this. So it is being worked on. We just don't know when it's going to basically drop and what kind of features we're going to be getting with it. So definitely looking forward to actually getting official support. In regard to this, the plugin itself, we are restricted to the block state variable name, so we can't actually mix and match these. It's always going to be this particular one when we're actually working with it. Though we can use the vanilla blocks like we did with this particular example, but again, when we're working with the vanilla ones, hopefully in the future we'll be able to actually specify specific mechanics, and that will allow us to diversify the combos and stuff, hopefully when we actually get that part. But outside of that, that was basically it. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, comment down below, rate the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. I have this friend that has their own server hosting company, and they have the lowest prices in the server hosting community, and they've given me a promo code to give to you guys. So if you want to get a good deal for the first month, then you can use the promo code Northwest for 45% off your first month. Offer expires July 19th, 2034. The link to their site is in the description.